Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this meeting of the Council of the Town of Oakville. I now call the meeting to order. I invite everyone to rise and join Council in O Canada. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Madam Clerk, I see we have no regrets this evening. Council, do we have any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, I would ask now for confirmation of the minutes of the previous council meetings as listed in the agenda. Councillor Chisholm and Councillor Hutchins moving and seconding. All in favor? And those are approved. We now have a public presentation scheduled. Public presentations are us tonight. We're going to start with Bernadette Ward. I see you there. The Executive Director of the Oakville Arts Council, to provide an overview of OAC's services, programs, and contributions to the arts and culture sector in Oakville. If you'd like to come to the center podium, or bring your posse, your chorus.
Kind of barging in on this, I guess.
So whatever you do, try to say it toward the microphone.
Oh. Sorry. So,
So
I
I
decided
guess I
to
should
come
recognize
up
Bill
and-
Smith.
yes,
rather
I'm
than
Bill Smith.
Bernadette
I'm the
Ward.
president of the Oakville Arts Council, and I've brought with me Ben McRae, who's treasurer, our fantastic treasurer, and Bernadette Ward, our executive director. So we're all going to do sort of a tag team tonight. We're just going to. Anyway, so I guess I should welcome you all. So Mayor Burton, councilors, town staff, members of the community. It's a great pleasure to come and talk to you guys again, because it's been I don't know, it's been probably a couple years since we've come to council. We come to annually. We come to the CSC, but not here. So here we are. So anyway. We've, the Oakville Arts Council has been around for a while, 1978, and we're always busy with all sorts of new things going on, and so what we wanted to do was just give you a little idea of what those things are. I know there's some new councilors here since the last time, and so we thought this would make sense. So the Oakville Arts Council has been part of the community since 1978. The council grew out of the work of W. Ray Stevens, who founded the Oakville Performing Arts Council. By 1978, it was evident to the arts and culture sector that an umbrella organization representing a wider array of creative arts was needed. And so from the very beginning, the OAC has sought to engage the community and assist the arts and cultural groups with their development. So, oh, there we are. So our vision, as you know, Oakville has a very vibrant artistic community, and the Oakville Arts Council leads and represents the arts and culture in Oakville. We consider ourselves the one voice for the arts in town. Our current mission, the Oakville Arts Council will sustain and foster the community's engagement in the arts and champion artistic development. So our goals, we work to ensure that the arts are valued. We offer our community opportunities to connect with our members, to learn how to create and participate in the arts. That's very important, especially with the growing community in North Oakville. It's very important that we're able to help our members connect with each other and with those new members of our community. We work to ensure that artists are respected. We provide services designated to encourage professional development and foster creative collaboration. And we work to ensure that the Oakville arts sector is supported. And we develop very strong relationships in the community. We recognize our local talent and search for innovative solutions to many of the challenges facing our sector. And people that know about the Oakville Arts Council and our members, you know, a lot of them do require some assistance because there's really not a lot of management in many of them. It's just kind of a bunch of artists that get together, so they look to us to assist them in their development. So our values are community, creativity, sustainability, integrity, and collaboration. Let me just see here. So we've accomplished many things over the years in an effort to foster and sustain the community engagement in the arts and champion artistic development. A few of those are, in 1979, the OAC formed the Oakville Drama Series and with Roy Hughes, and established the Oakville Arts Festival that ran for over a decade. We've established many programs such as the Super Sound series, Monday Night at the Movies, the Common Thread, the World of Threads Festival, Artswork Oakville, the Getaway Program. Above and Beyond Awards, Arts About Town Magazine, and the Poetry Cafe. In 1989, the OAC began the administration of the town's cultural grants program, which is really a great program for our community. And in 2014, the OAC and the town of Oakville signed a new legal agreement, which I think was very instrumental in enhancing the relationship of ourselves and town staff and councilors. So that was a wonderful document. Mr. Chisholm was part of that, and we appreciate his work there. So let me see. So we look for ways to sustain and grow arts and culture in Oakville, and we believe the arts and culture are essential to the town's vision of creating the most livable town in Canada. To note just a few of the many ways that we work to grow the arts and culture in Oakville, we've participated in the New Canadians Cultural Accessibility Committee, participate with the Oakville Tourism Partnership, participate in the creation of the Oakville Public Art Procedure, the feasibility study for the Community Arts Cultural Center, community consultation around QE Park School, participate in the town's cultural planning process, and we participate in the Oakville Community Foundation's Vital Signs. We try to participate in as many of these events, organizations, because we feel that it leaves us in a much better position to help our members and the town at large. So, I think we're going to ask Ben.
Yeah, so Bill asked me to come out tonight and just talk very high level on our finances, where our money comes from, what we spend it on, and how the health of our organization is doing. So as a not-for-profit, kind of our number one goal is to say, okay, we have the money coming in, how best do we spend that? In terms of where we get our funding from, about 50% of our funding comes from the town of Oakville. The town's made a commitment that they will increase our funding equal to the rate of their rent increase, roughly equal to inflation, 5-year commitment. In addition to the money coming from the town, our second largest source of funding would be from OTF, Ontario Trillium Foundation, which is about 35% of our funding. And then we also have memberships, so that's people that pay to be a member of the Oakville Arts Council. And we offer two types of memberships: individual, which is $50 for the year, and then organization, which is $150 for the year. So in terms of kind of where the bulk of our money actually goes that comes in, first and foremost, as you can see on this slide here, we run a number of various items, one being the cultural grants program, which we administer. That money that the town provides through that program never actually comes into us. Rather, we act as the intermediary. We go through the applications and choose how to best distribute that money. We also have a large artist directory on our website, an arts calendar where we promote events, upcoming events, and then a number of workshops and seminars that we have throughout the year. Just in terms of kind of, I see we only have a minute and a half left, and I want to give Bernadette some time to talk. So very high level, over the past 3 years, our goal is to kind of have a $0 bottom line, meaning that all the money that's come in, we've been able to spend it as best we can. In 2014, we had a deficit of around $7,000. In 2015, we had a surplus of $5,000, and in 2016, we had a surplus of $5,000. So we're around that $0 bottom line over the past 3 years. I'll pass it off to Bernadette to talk a bit more about the organization itself.
Thank you. So I think something that we find fairly interesting is the collective impact of our members. So we support a sector that collectively has over 1,650 members, almost 2,000 volunteers that contribute 97,000 volunteers annually to deliver 400 performances, exhibitions, and festivals with a reach of almost 80,000 people in terms of audience participants. Together, we deliver more than 12,000 workshops and classes. So, I mean, the bottom line is our Oakville artists contribute huge numbers of volunteer hours to create a vibrant community here in Oakville. Their contribution brings value to the community in many ways through increased tourism, innovation, health and well-being, and proud and engaged citizens. So, some of the things that may be of interest to council, a lot of our members work with programs and services that engage youth, seniors, newcomers, and the differently abled. The list before you on this slide is just a few of our members. We have, for instance, Art House that works to ensure all children are exposed to the arts, regardless of circumstances. The Canadian Caribbean Association of Halton brings us Carousel of Nations, and the Joshua Creek Heritage Centre presents Art from the Heart exhibition, works of art presented by artists facing a variety of challenging circumstances. And I know I'm out of time. So the next slides really are about the OAC, our strategic planning process. We understand that we need to remain relevant to the community, and so we've engaged in strategic planning, and we're well on our way to creating a new direction. In closing, the Oakville Arts Council is proud to have made so many contributions to the community over the past 38 years, and we hope to continue with the support of our sponsors and donors and members and the town as a partner. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your information and your service. Council may have questions for you. Councillor Lischina.
Thank you, Bernadette. Wonderful presentation, and you too, Mr. Smith. I have a question regarding the membership, the 1,650. Is that from across Oakville, or is that also outside of Oakville? Do you have any idea if they're across wards?
Certainly there will be some cross. Some of our organizations attract members from other communities for sure, especially maybe in terms of visual arts and whatnot. But by and large, most of our groups have members from within Oakville.
If there's no others, thank you very much for your presentation tonight. Our next delegation is Terry Smith. This is the Smith Brothers night. And Terry's here
Thank
on
you.
behalf of the United Way of Oakville.
Thank you, Mayor, and most of you know we have identical voices too. We may not look exactly the same, but we sound the same. So you're going to have to listen to the same voice for a couple more minutes. I am the chair of the United Way campaign for this year, and I'm just here quickly to thank you for your support. And I'm also actually, when I was looking at during the anthem at all the pictures of Oakville, I was thinking what a lucky bunch of people we are to live in such a great town. And that's one of the reasons I'm thrilled to be chairing the United Way campaign, because United Way is a very important part of the health of our town, and we all enjoy the benefits of it. I am embarrassed to say that during the bus poll, which is what I'm here to talk about, for the first time ever, we had a cabinet team. Oddly enough, we never had one in the past. And so we had a cabinet team in the bus poll, and we polled against the council, and we lost. So remarkably, with our fit youth, we lost to you guys. So anyway, I'm here to thank Councillor Giddings, Kathy Duddick, Ray Chisholm, who else was, Tom, Sean, and who else did we have? Jeff. So this is, did I miss somebody? Oh, sorry. And I harassed him on the way in, too. So, oh, you are on here. I apologize. So here is the plaque that we have one for each of you. I'm sure you'll want to hang it on the wall to thank you for your participation in the bus poll. We also want to thank Oakville Transit for their support on the whole thing. And what United Way does really matters. I think most of us are pretty familiar with United Way. I got involved in the cabinet a couple of years ago, and I did it really as a sense of, doing something to be supportive in the community. But as I got involved, I really, and I sort of looked at it as most people know. I sometimes say that the brand United Way is a blessing and a curse. Most people know it. Most people at some point in their lives, earlier in their working life, got involved in a campaign. They may not have totally understood what it's all about. Once you get to understand it, you see that, yes, it's a big brand that is a positive thing, but I think a lot of people don't realize it's a local organization. So United Ways are local. Ours is local. We support over 30,000 people with various needs each year. I sort of think of it as a kind of a web. We're all tied together. Our job on the cabinet is to raise money, to provide fuel for 31 agencies and 50 programs that we support, all of which employ people, have volunteers who are involved in what they do, have people who need the services. And so there's an enormous number of people tied together through United Way. And the health of our town is very much affected by what we do. And a lot of people may not be able to even name a few agencies, but when you start looking at it, we have a significant impact. And I won't go through it because you guys are familiar with many of them. The kickoff, which you participated in, the bus poll, was a big success. We raised $30,000 this year. Last year we raised $13,000 in the kickoff. That's a drop in the bucket in terms of the $4.5 million that we're goaling to raise this year. But it was a good start, and it got the energy flowing. So again, we appreciate the support from the town of Oakville. We appreciate the collaboration. We appreciate that as you guys are focused on a healthy community from your point of view, we're trying to do the same thing with the United Way. And, helping those in our community is what it's all about, and so we appreciate your support very much. If I can just make a pitch, I know that certain council members are supporters of United Way with dollars over and above your position in promoting us in the town. I would strongly encourage, and in fact, I'd love to have a coffee with each of you individually to talk a little bit more about the specifics of the United Way. We appreciate any and all support and donations. You may know that we run a leadership program for people who donate $1,200 or more. That's something that we'd love to see those of us who are leaders in the community tag their name onto that. But even beyond that, any support we appreciate. So, and I apologize, Alan, for screwing up. But thank you very much for your support. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to come here and thank you publicly. Thank you to Councillor Giddings for his support on the board and being a champion. And it's just an all-around gratitude event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry, for your presentation. Councillor Giddings has a question, I imagine, for you.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are fortunate indeed. I couldn't agree more with your comments that you started off with. Question, your target this year is 4.5 million.
Yes.
And are you still accepting pledges, donations?
We are indeed.
So
yeah, the door is open. The campaign runs, we meet as a cabinet all year, but generally the campaigns, as you know from the town, and you guys support us, run in the fall. But we don't close the door until essentially early March when we announce our results. So far this year, we're looking for a reasonable increase from last year. Frankly, in my opinion, and I'm only a one-year cabinet chair, but I actually think if more people understood more about the United Way, we can and should be able to raise $5–6 million a year. I think that the needs in terms of, we haven't been able to add agencies for a few years. We haven't been able to increase the amounts we support them. These agencies are running many times on a shoestring. And so we're looking for a good increase this year, but really one of my goals is to engage the community in a more heartfelt way, get people to understand more, and see if we can start moving the needle. So yes, we are still accepting donations, and I really would encourage you to think seriously about it. I know you guys do a lot for the town with your time. I respect it and appreciate it as a resident, and it may be a little much to ask for your financial support as well, but we're all leaders in the community, and I would really encourage that. And again, I'd love to be able to reach out to you one-on-one to talk a bit more about it.
So the target is 4.5 million.
It is.
And
You got $1 million, don't you?
yeah. The next question I have, we've talked about it at the board. In terms of people, a lot that may be watching this evening, a lot of people may live here, work in Toronto, and they fill out their pledge in Toronto, not necessarily knowing that that money is being directed to the Toronto area or wherever they may work. Is there a fast, easy way to have that money directed to Oakville?
There is a way. It's not hard, but it may not be quite as easy as it looks. And in fact, I have Meredith here she's a staff person at the United Way, so she may be able to answer that more specifically in terms of the mechanics. But it's a fairly simple election in the process. You just have to look for it. So I can follow up and give you a bit more information on that. But yes, that's an important thing. Again, we have a lot of people in Oakville who don't work in Oakville, but who, if they understood what you just described, the ability to designate at least part of their donation in their workplace into their own community, they would probably want to do that. And that's
so speak to their employer,
exactly.
Have the box checked off, and the money will come back
exactly.
to Oakville.
And that's something we're trying to promote more this year. And we're reaching out to people very directly on that. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Terry, for your information.
You're welcome. I will leave the goodie bag behind. Thank you.
Our next presentation is by Dr. Paul Davis, the president of Scott Firefighter Combat Challenge. And as I believe we have a prideful moment ahead of us here in that the Oakville professional firefighters have done us proud, done us and themselves very proud. Dr. Davis?
Thank you. This is the 25th year since the inception of the Scott Firefighter Combat Challenge, and World Challenge 25 was held during the week of October 24 in Montgomery, Alabama. And as I think everyone here is aware, that Oakville came out on top, setting 2 new world records, one being the aggregate time, which is taking the top 3 times, adding together, and the fastest individual performance. To fully appreciate what this entails, a brief description. You know, as firefighters get ready for work, their business suit is somewhere between 40 and 50 pounds. That's before you start doing anything. And the 5 linked criterion tasks that make up the challenge are ubiquitous to firefighters around the world, carrying heavy objects, climbing, and that sort of thing. So the first event, while wearing the Scott Air pack and your gear, is to pick up a high-rise pack. It's 42 pounds, 19 kilo, and take it to the top of the 5-story tower. Deposit it in the box. Take a 15 millimeter Kern mantle rope. The rope alone is 7 pounds, and another 18, 19 kilo a large diameter hose bundle, and pull that up and over the railing. Descend the tower, touching every step on the way out. Go 20 feet, pick up a 9-pound shot mallet and drive a steel beam a distance of 5 feet. And then run through the serpentine course to the other end, pick up a charge line, 1 3/4 attack line, and drag that. When it's fully extended, it's 240 pounds. Knock the target down, and then the last event, which is what we call the human tractor pull, 175-pound anatomically correct rescue dummy. So in less time than it took for me to tell you that, Ian was done, just to get a little bit of an appreciation for the athleticism that comes along with this particular type of competition. We live streamed this event around the world. We had well over 68,000 people who watched it over the course of the 6 days, and it will be available for your viewing. We also pulled out the run of Ian, who raced against Ryan Fitzgerald from Minnesota. And that's an individual video segment that you can be able to watch at your leisure. So we have the Scott Trophy here, and if we would direct your attention to the trophy, which is on the back of the room here. And I want to get some pictures if I could. And thank you very much for the support that you have lent to making this the success that it is. And these are truly world-class athletes in every sense of the word. So again, my hat's off to the town of Oakville for your support. Yeah.
Perfect.
Hey, quickly smile.
Oh, perfect. Thanks so much. You got them? All right, cool. Thank you. Just get everyone shoving over a little closer there. Perfect. Thanks so much. One more. That little thing was just you're blocking your head there. Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Well done, all. Would you, sir?
Well done to all. I don't have a presentation per se, but this is the point in the agenda where I'll note that to encourage support of Unite's campaign and to fight woman abuse, I've proclaimed the month of November to be Woman Abuse Prevention Month. And we've had ceremonies earlier this week in accord with that. And I've also declared November 29th to be Giving Tuesday to encourage the support of local charities by supporting the Giving Tuesday movement. And I'll just say that perhaps Terry Smith and the United Way could be the beneficiary of that. And then, as I understand it, staff have a presentation for you, Council, with regard to the Clean Marine Platinum designation for Oakville harbors. Am I remotely correct on that? Yes, look, there we are.
Thank you. So through you, Mr. Burton, Mayor Burton, Christoph Isakowski, Supervisor of Harbors, and myself, Tricia Henderson, Environmental Coordinator, are pleased to present you with the Clean Marine Platinum Award for Town Harbors. This award is from the Ontario Marine Operators Association for participating in the Clean Marine program since 2006. The town was most recently audited in August of this year, where we graduated from a diamond to a platinum rating. We are the only municipal-owned harbor to have this high of a designation in Canada, and only the second one. There was one privately owned harbor as well in Ontario. So we're one of two harbors for such high designation. And we'll be audited again in the spring of 2020, so it occurs every 4 years. So this award reflects Council's amazing commitment to environmental sustainability and leadership, and we'd be happy to present it to you this evening.
Well, thank you very much. I want to make clear that Council and I, we're very pleased and proud of the way we've backed this initiative, but we're very aware that it's our staff that do the work and make this happen. And so we're very proud of you, and we thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Council, that brings us to the delegations part of the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any registered delegations? I don't see the gentleman you're expecting.
Yes, we did have one delegation. Chris Stote was here to speak to item 6 on community services, but I don't see him. No.
Well, I know the gentleman, and I know that he's in strong support of the measure that the committee has passed and recommended to Council. And so I think his message of encouragement to us to pass it will probably be successful even without having appeared. So with that, I'll call the Community Services Committee report for approval or separations. Or Councillor Adams.
Could I separate item 6, the one that was going to be delegated to?
Item number 6 is separated. Is there a mover, Councillor Elgar, for the balance of the report? Is there a second? Councillor Lischino, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Most of CSC is now adopted, Councillor Adams.
I wanted to thank our staff for bringing forward the report on EpiPens. This is a matter that any parent who's got a child who has an allergy for which they need to carry an EpiPen is always concerned about. I have a child who needs one, and I know there are some other members of council who I think have members of the family who also carry an EpiPen, and it happens that you forget them at home, you leave them in the other bag, you leave them somewhere else, and having this extra level of protection for a lot of families will mean a lot. And so I thank our staff for organizing this. It's very, very meaningful, and I appreciate the efforts, and I'd be happy to move it.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Seconder? Councillor Hutchins, all in favor? Opposed, if any? And that is Community Services adopted. Administrative Services Committee, how do you wish to proceed, Council? Councillor Knoll.
I'd like to separate item number 10, please, the rental bylaw.
All right. Councillor Adams?
I'd like to separate item 9 as well, please.
All right. Anybody like to pass the rest of the report? Councillor Elgar and Councillor Lischina, all in favor? Opposed, if any? And some of Administrative Services is now adopted. Councillor Knoll, you have the floor for item 10.
Actually, I'm going to, I separated, but I'm going to hand over to Councillor Adams because he has a proposed alternative or add-on to the motion that we'd like to present this evening. So I'll let him present that, then I'll speak to it.
Away you go.
So Councillor Knoll and I would like to move the original as presented recommendation from the committee and to add as well 2 additional items, and those are that staff draft a low-rise residential rental bylaw for council consideration, and a third component which would be with the draft bylaw, staff will provide a financial plan for the cost of such a program as well as a plan for cost recovery. Both Councillor, well, I'll let Councillor Knoll speak for himself, but I certainly appreciate the efforts of staff in doing the review that they have. I do believe that the recommendation of the committee is an important step to work with members of the community who are in the business. But I do believe that we need to consider additional opportunities or options for our community to deal with the issues that crop up in some of our rental stock. And so this isn't passing the bylaw, this is looking further at the bylaw, and I think that's an important element of our review process.
Councillor Knoll.
Thank you. I'll echo everything that Councillor Adams said and also add my thanks to the bylaw staff for not only drafting this report and presenting us with the options that were presented, but also for their diligence in dealing with the issues as they crop up. The issue of rooming houses, particularly those that are well in excess of reasonableness, 4, 5, 6, 7 non-related individuals living in homes in our community, has become a real problem in North Oakville. I'm not so sure about the circumstances that our southern colleagues are dealing with, but certainly in North Oakville they're resulting in all kinds of issues around parking, overcrowding, resources in the communities, noise, disruptions in communities, and there really needs to be some answer for this. I think that the staff have come up with an interesting proposal to get us part of the way there, but we do need, and we had a robust discussion on this at committee, we do need more substantial measures at some point down the road that are financially sustainable, that have real teeth, and can really get the message home, but also give us an opportunity to be able to both resolve the issues, but also have penalties and real consequences in place for those who choose to violate a reasonable bylaw.
Thank you. So it's, which of you is the mover and which is the second? Councillor Adams moving, Councillor Knoll seconding. All those, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Congratulations, your improvement has carried. Number 9, Councillor Adams.
So this is dealing with the alternative voting and vote counting methods. I also note that there's I'll say it's a related request for a report regarding provision of access to voters lists on voting day, and so it's a good day for that to be coming forward as well. I wanted to ask our staff regarding the ranked ballots, whether are they aware of any other municipalities that are likely to move forward with ranked ballots in the upcoming 2018 election process, as a first question.
No, we are not aware of any other municipalities that are going to pursue that.
Okay. And I note that within the report there's a I'll say a list of concerns or issues that would need to be dealt with before he could move forward. Could Oakville be in a position to move forward with a ranked ballot if we wish to?
I think staff's preferred position with ranked balloting would be to follow the lead that might be set by the province or by the federal government so that we can see how that operates. It's a very complex situation for a municipality to undertake it because we have a multiple page ballot and it would extend to a larger ballot, and we would like to see an organization that has more significant resources than ours pursue that and follow that lead. So that would be our preferred state.
Okay, and is that primarily because of direct cost, or is it actually a technical issue with respect to access to appropriate equipment and so forth?
It's really an issue of the difficulty of mounting a ranked ballot for a municipality. We think that it would be easier for the province or the federal government to do a ranked ballot because there's only one candidate, there's only one person running in a ward. We may have, the school boards running. We would have to coordinate with the other municipalities for the regional chair position. There are a number of complexities that we would like to have somebody go before us. And if you'd like more detail, I'll have my colleague Kim speak to some of those. But I think that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. So the report that was drafted, was it provided to the province?
No, it was not.
It was not, okay. So, because I think there are a number of issues that have been noted in it that are challenges in terms of being able to move forward with a ranked ballot, and I'm concerned that the province, in providing us the opportunity or the choice to use ranked ballots, may not have given enough support or guidance in terms of being able to move forward. Does staff feel the same way on that particular point?
I'm going to ask Kim to answer that. I know there's a really rich conversation going on among the clerks across the province of all of the municipalities, and I think they do interact with their provincial colleagues, so she'll provide more detail for you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Council, yes, we have spoken with the province. We've spoken with the province as individuals to other individuals working for the ministry, and we've also spoken through our association, through the Association of Municipal Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario. We are constantly dialoguing with them on the ranked ballot process, and the issues highlighted in the report have been discussed with our colleagues at the province.
So the issues have, but the report itself hasn't been shared with them?
At this point, yes.
Okay. So if I asked for staff to do two things, one, to share the report with the province, that's certainly, I think, something that could be done. And the other is if I asked staff to report back with options for using the ranked ballot in the next municipal election, would that be an opportunity for us to work with the province and work with other municipalities to provide better guidance and perhaps better technology and techniques for carrying it out?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Mayor. Yes, we can definitely speak to the province. We can bring a report forward in the future further discussing ranked ballot process, but the province right now has specified the regulations that we would have to do that by. There are a number of things as outlined in the report with regards to the size of the ballot, the complexity of our composite ballot compared to a provincial where they only have one ballot with 4 or 5 names on it. And right now we have our voters coming out to vote with an 8.5 by 11 size composite ballot. Going to ranked would increase the size of that ballot considerably, or it becomes a double-sided ballot in order to get the detail on it that would be required for a ranked ballot.
Is it the province that dictates all of that, or are those local choices? And I apologize that some of this could have been done at committee.
Yes, it's by regulation.
It's all regulated. There's a full regulation on every aspect of the ranked balloting other than the counting of the votes. There are options for that.
Okay. So I thank you for some of that conversation. I would like to add these 2 additional components. I firmly believe that we should be moving to a ranked ballot system, but I recognize the difficulties and challenges that are being put forward before us. And so I would like to provide our staff with some guidance to come back with a report for the next election.
Could you write these out, please?
Yes, I can.
Councillor Knoll.
May I ask a question of our colleague, just for clarification? Councillor Adams, through you, Mr. Mayor, when you say the next election, are you referring to the 2018 election or subsequent 2022?
No, I'm talking about 2022.
Okay, thank you.
So I recognize the decision of the committee and the direction that it's taken, and I'm not going to try and overturn that.
Well, the committee only made a decision to receive, so.
Well, that's,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
that's the decision was to receive, and had the committee wished to move to 2018, I presume it would have made such a decision. So, Your Worship, I'd move the recommendation from the committee and add that staff report back with an option for use of ranked ballots in 2022, and that the report be shared with the province of Ontario.
Your Worship, is that an amendment to the original? Should we vote on the amendment first?
Oh, sure. Well, no, okay, that pen just died. Here, that's the number 10 from the previous discussion.
This is that famous engineer's handwriting. All right. So, Council, I would propose that we vote on this in three pieces: the committee recommendation, and then Councillor Adams' item number 1, and then his item number 2. And I'll ask the clerks to put it on the overhead. So, is there discussion of the committee's recommendation? Shall I put that vote before you? The committee's recommendation was to receive the report, if I'm correctly informed. All in favor? Opposed, if any? And the committee recommendation is adopted. Now, once we zoom in and tilt and pan and everything, you can read item 1 and item 2. And is there any discussion on either of these before we put them to a vote? Councillor O'Meara.
I wonder, I know the province has said ranked ballot right now, but that doesn't mean by 2022 there's not going to be an alternative system that they might be recommending. As we saw in Prince Edward Island, there's a number of different systems. So I'm not sure why we want to go sort of look 6 years out right now and still prepare ourselves for something that we're just unsure of in the future. So I think, I understand the idea to change the election system, and I think in general, I don't think the province has done a very good job on conversation about which system is best. So I think we might be putting the cart before the horse a little bit and trying to prepare for 2022 when there's so much up in the air about systems and ways and manners. So I just, sorry to my colleague, but I probably won't be supporting number 1. I just think we're just getting a little bit far ahead of ourselves. But I completely support number 2. And just to show the complexity of the province about what they're proposing hasn't really been completely thought out to the level that I think it should have been. So thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor O'Meara. Councillor Elgar.
Thank you. This is currently 2016. We've got another election in 2018. They can take a look at it then. Absolutely not going to support 1. I will support 2 to send off to the province, because I don't think we have staff sitting around here that are looking for work that needs to be done at this point in time. Thank you.
Now, the clerk, I need a little help here. Who seconded the committee report moved by Councillor Adams? Have you got that? Councillor O'Meara did. There you go, Madam Clerk. The clerk's happier now. Now, we're still looking for seconders for these items in front of us now. And I have a hand showing from Councillor Knoll, I think. Councillor Knoll? No, was there any other speaker? You want to speak? I'm looking for speakers, that's right. So you're on the, it's your.
But do you have a seconder? Or am I trying to chair the meeting?
We don't, let's wait and see, shall
Okay,
we?
sure.
Let's, go ahead, just speak.
Sure. So like the other speakers, I'll support number 2, and I won't support number 1, or I guess this is actually number 2 of the new motion. Councillor Elgar really took the thrust of what I wanted to say. This is 2 elections hence, and I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. This is not ready for prime time, as they say. There's not enough details. There's not enough, I guess, support for this at this moment, particularly in light of the fact that the 2 governments which are really pushing this or have been looking at this haven't even adopted a program yet. So that's a much easier venue to introduce it. So let's see what happens there before we dip our toes in the water here. I don't want to give anybody a false sense of belief that we're, that the subsequent council is going to even consider it until there's something more to look at. Because right now it's really just a very academic concept, and I don't think it's fleshed out whatsoever. So I don't really want to cleave ourselves to this until such a point as there's a lot more detail and maybe even some prima facie evidence of success with our federal and provincial brethren.
All right, thank you. So I detect that there might be a seconder for the second item here, and that we might be able to pass that. Is there in fact a seconder for the second? Councillor Elgar is seconding item number 2 before you. Can I call the vote on that? All in favor? On 2. Any against? Congratulations, Councillor Adams, you're getting somewhere. Now, is there a seconder for his item number 1? Councillor Adams, your item may have failed for lack of a second, but that's a good forecast of what the vote would have been.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity for the discussion.
Thank you very much. I can tell you that the mayors and chairs of the GTHA have discussed this, and one of the reasons that the commissioner was unable to report any other municipalities plunging ahead is because everybody has pretty much adopted a wait-and-see attitude. Many of us have discussed the idea of having a referendum to decide whether or not to do it. But even that has proven difficult in that it's very hard to come up with a precise, clear question. Given the regulations, it's very hard to know how to formulate a really clear question that would give you a clear answer. So thank you for your effort, your yeoman work on this, Councillor Adams, and the standing committee reports are now fully dealt with. That brings us to our first discussion item, which is related in a way to voting, and that's the ward boundary and council composition changes that we've been working on for how many years now? I have truly lost track, but this spans an election for sure. And the recommendation is clear. The public consultation's been years in the making. Are there a mover and seconder for the item? Councillor Lapworth, and I'll get one over here, Councillor Chisholm. Thank you. Any discussion? Councillor O'Meara.
I'll be brief, but I'm like many of my council colleagues. We've probably had comments about, well, why can't councillors just do more, or why can't we shrink it, and why can't we have those conversations? And I've been fortunate enough in the brief time that I've been sitting on council to have a few conversations with residents, and they're awestruck at what our responsibilities are and how we manage those on a day-to-day basis. And everybody recognizes the growth of the region and the town and understands those dimensions. So I think I'm very happy to support this, and I think it's the right thing to do to serve all of our residents better and give them the service that they are rightly asking for. So I just wanted to add those 2 cents in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Well said. I'll start over here, Councillor Elgar.
Yeah, I'm hearing something quite different. I'm hearing, why do we have councillors at all?
Thank you for that cheerful note. Next speaker, Councillor Adams.
I just wanted to thank all my colleagues for helping us get this through. It's been a long time coming. I note that in the history section of it, it talks about 2011 as the start of a process. So it'll be 7 years by the time we get to the election that it actually happens in. And I note that that's 2 cycles back. So we just came through a discussion about something happened in 2022. I have hope. But in all seriousness, this is something that we've been working at as a group for a long time, and it does take a lot of work, both here as well as at the region, for this kind of thing to happen. So thank you, everybody, for their efforts.
Councillor Dudek.
As long as we're going for thank yous, I'd like to express my thanks to the clerk's office, specifically our senior manager of legislative services, Kim Gaglione, for all her hard work. This was not easy, and there was a lot of to and fro and a lot of researching that went into it, so thank you very much.
I guess if it falls to me to have the last word, I'll take it. We need to be appreciative and thankful for the neighborly and cooperative and collaborative relationship that we enjoy across the region of Halton, without which this would not have happened, because this required the cooperation of all 4 municipalities, or at least 3 of them. And I want to note that in the end, all 4 municipalities supported it. So there's a wonderful spirit of cooperation, and we're all in it together, all across the region of Halton, that can't help but be good for the future for all of our residents. And with that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. And now, Council, in item number 2, we have so item number 2 has a temporary. So there's a whole bunch of appointments here to committees. I don't want to read them all, but they are as a result of your input. And I don't know how you did it, but telepathically or something, you did it without any conflicts. So there are no issues to resolve. We need a mover and seconder. Councillor O'Meara, moving. Councillor Hutchins seconding. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Thank you, everyone. That's carried. And now we come to the advisory committee minutes, the advisory committee minutes for the Development Charges Steering Committee, and that's a receipt of the report. Councillor Lischina and Councillor Grant, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? And that is received. Now, Council, we have some work ahead of us here in the form of requests for reports, but I'll just note that your information items have been circulated electronically, and you have your status of outstanding issues. And then we have new business.
Excuse me, Your Worship. Sorry.
Sir.
Sorry, just on the information items for a moment. I'm not sure how the appropriate manner from a procedural element to do with this, but I would like to take notice of the response we got from the province on our resolution for the Waukesha water diversion, and I was very disappointed with the response we got from the province in terms of they felt that after going back they got everything that they needed to make that decision. So I would just like that on the record in the information items. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councillor, but it doesn't really get on the record unless we pass a resolution. And you might want to draft a resolution for the next council meeting to put it on the record.
Thank you very much. I will do that.
All right. Now, where were we? New business. So the first item is moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Lischina, and this is a veterans parking permit matter. Are there questions? May I put the vote? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you very much, Council. I know the veterans will be greatly appreciative of this. And then the second one is in consideration of a ceremonial street sign, seconded by Councillor Grant, moved by me. And this honors Diana Matheson and her great achievements on behalf of the town in the Olympics and her medals. And there we go. And what this will do is, if I can, that to recognize Ms. Matheson's ongoing service to her community and her country and to pay tribute to her Olympic achievements, a ceremonial street sign denoting Diana Matheson Way be created and installed in tandem with the current street sign at Rambler Court. Any discussion? Shall I put the vote? All in favor? Opposed, if any? And that is carried, and our great congratulations. Thank you, Councillor, and our great congratulations to Diana Matheson. Now, we also have an addendum item that calls for us to go into camera on a Glen Abbey update. And before we do that, so that we can complete all public work before we do that, I would ask you to consider the following request for report from Councillor O'Meara, seconded by Councillor Giddings, that staff provide council with options to lower speeds and increase safety in residential areas. Well understood? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? And the request is approved. Moved by Councillor Grant, seconded by Councillor Duddick, that staff provide a report on amounts paid by Oak Park Neighborhood Center, a North Oakville charity, for planning and building fees paid during the renovations of their community hub center, community hub located at 2200 Sawgrass Drive, and options for council to provide a grant to offset those costs in recognition of the services they provide to the community. All those in favor? Councillor Knoll, would you like to say anything?
I would like to declare a pecuniary interest on this matter, so I'm going to push back from the table.
Thank you. That's probably a good idea. Councillor Lischina.
I also have a conflict being on the board of Oak Park Neighborhood Center, so would like to stay out of this vote.
All right, well then, if the two of you just push back, we'll disregard you for this exercise. Any others? All those in favor? Any opposed? The request for a report is approved. And next and finally, we have moved by Councillor Knoll and seconded by Councillor Lischina, welcome back to the table, that staff be requested to prepare a report on providing candidates and scrutineers access to the voters list indicating voters that have and have not voted on voting day. Councillor Knoll, did you want to speak or change that?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a slight amendment to this. So remove the word on providing and insert on how to provide. So it would read, does staff be requested to provide a report on how to provide candidates and scrutineers access to the voting list indicating voters that have voted and not voted on election day, on voting day?
Thank you for that request. Councillor Elgar.
Is that legal? We can get that information? Perfect.
Yes, we believe it's legal. I think it's for the purposes of the election. It would not be widely circulated, and we'd be happy to write a report on that.
Technically, we would then be consistent with the provincial elections to bring a finer point to it. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? And that is carried, and I thank you all very much for that. I think that is a good thing that we're doing. I am now looking for my, oh, here it is. All right. Council staff are requesting that a part of the meeting tonight be closed to the public in order that council may receive advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege and in respect of litigation or potential litigation, including matters before an administrative tribunal in accordance with our procedure bylaw and with the Municipal Act. I need a mover and seconder for this. Councillor Lapworth and Councillor Lischina. All in favor? Opposed, if any? The motion is carried. And I did, but I don't mind saying again that we're doing this to receive a report from the legal department to update us on the Glen Abbey Golf Course matter. All right, council is now back in public session, having met in a session closed to the public for the purpose of receiving advice subject to the privilege of solicitor-client and in respect of litigation or potential litigation, including matters before an administrative tribunal in accordance with the procedure bylaw and the Municipal Act. And council, I would ask for a mover and seconder for the recommendation that the report dated November 11th from the legal department be received. Councillor Hutchins, Councillor Lapworth, all in favor? And that is adopted. Thank you. Now, I believe that the only thing left is the consideration and reading of bylaws. And if I could have a mover and seconder for the bylaws, Councillor Grant and Councillor Gittings. Thank you. This is authority for the bylaws as printed in the agenda. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? The bylaws are adopted. That completes our agenda. Thank you very much for your time and attention. It's been great working with you, and we are adjourned.